Yeah? Okay.
In a world where unidentifiable, unstoppable cybercriminals slowly destroy the internet, two groups team up and accept the challenge. This is the story of how simple actions save dozens of citizens online.
Right, you already saw it there. Casual Friday 2, payback time. But what was Casual Friday Part 1? Well, for that we have to go back in time a few years, and that's a story that all started with this movie. Look, there's a guy in the night, and without touching the ATM, look, look, look. Oh. So this is basically how we got involved in the Carbanak investigation. And Carbanak, like I just told you, was according to some, billion-dollar digital bank robbery. And we wanted to work together with the police. So we were at Europol in a room, rather small, and Europol invited all the big banks in Europe. Oh, there he goes again. Bad boy. Anyway, all the banks were there, and my colleague was presenting, and he's a really typical kind of guy. He's the type of guy that if it gets technically more advanced, he gets more enthusiastic. And the more enthusiastic he got, the more nervous the people in the room became. And especially one bank got really nervous, because they had a hit on one of the IOCs that we provided. So we went there, and that was on a Friday. And actually, on that Friday, our internet scan for new Carbanak command and control servers finished. And guess what? We found a new, unknown Carbanak command and control server located in the Netherlands. So I called up the police and I asked them, can you please seize that server? And they said, we will call you back. And then when they called me back, they said two things. First, we will seize the server. And second of all, don't ever, ever call us again on a Friday afternoon. Because on Friday,
we're closed.
They didn't like to work and they were looking for revenge. And that would come sooner than later. Because a few months later, there was one guy in Sweden, and that is not a joke, his name is Björn. And Björn also works for a typical Swedish company. Again, not a joke. He was working for the Ikea, and when he got home, he decided to spend some time behind his computer, writing some code, do some other stuff, and suddenly he saw this. Björn had a problem. Now, lucky for us, Björn wasn't the type of guy who assembles furniture at the Ikea. No, he actually had some certificates in IT security. So he went to investigate, and the first thing he wanted to do was to start Process Explorer. But that didn't work. At that point, Björn got a little bit like, okay, what should I do now? And to get some inspiration, he went to YouTube, and he decided to watch some Minions.
Ba 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 na na, ba 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 na na, oh ba 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 na na, ba 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 na na na, ba 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 na naとガリのポタトリカにマロマニカのキカババババなな。
So Björn, he actually changed the name of Process Explorer to banana.exe after watching the Minions, and suddenly that worked. He could start Process Explorer, he found the suspicious process, he looked up to where it was connecting, and guess what? It was a server located in the Netherlands. And Björn went to investigate further. He quickly realized that the server was most likely hacked, so he contacted the owner, and he said, hey, your server has been hacked, my computer has been a victim of ransomware. I want the database dump so I can find my key and decrypt my files. And the owner replied, and he said, no, you're not getting the whole database, but you're getting your key. So Bjorn was happy, he could decrypt his files, but the owner, he had a problem. What should he do now?
I'd like to call the police now.
Fine.
And he didn't call them on a Friday afternoon, because when he called them, by some miracle of God, he was put through to the team high-tech crime, which is a national cyber crime detective team. And the owner said, look, my server has been hacked, there are all these ransomware keys on this. Would you like a copy? And the police said, yeah, sure, we would like a copy. And what should you do with a copy of a command and control server? Now, every time when I think of the police, I get a little bit afraid that I will get a speeding ticket or something, because they try to catch criminals. They try to do attribution. But with cybercrime, it's not always so easy, especially if the suspects are Russian and they put their servers in Iran and they attack US citizens, then the US, Iran, and Russia have to work together. Now, what are the odds? So that's why the police, they came up with a different strategy. If they can do damage mitigation, it's good. And can you do damage mitigation with this command and control server? Yes. Oh, if you have the command and control server, you can also do victim notification, because probably there's a list of victims on it. Oh, and of course, if you seize the server, you disrupted their criminal activities. And if you're lucky in the end, yeah, maybe we can even do some attribution. So they called us and asked for help. And we said, sure, we can help you. Because they didn't really know what to do with the server. So he said, okay, what about if we make a website that looks like this, where people can download the decryption tool for free, people can find their keys, so people can decrypt their files without paying. And they said, yeah, that looks like a good idea. It's a nice website. And then it was time for their revenge. Because we had a call on Friday, April the 10th in the afternoon, and our idea was to go live 1 week later. Because aside from the website, we didn't have anything yet. We didn't have a blog post, we didn't have a manual, and we didn't have a decryption tool. And then the police said, no. Remember that you made us work on a Friday afternoon? Now you are going to work in your weekend, because we want to have everything ready by Tuesday. We are going live on Tuesday. So there went my weekend. So to give you an idea, this is usually how my weekend starts. And this is usually how it ends because of making illegal vodka. But none of that actually happened, because I spent the whole weekend doing this. So you will see now a picture of me. And to make matters even worse, while working on Friday afternoon, the police called again. Look, we have another victim, and she's located all the way up north. I live somewhere here in the middle. All the way up north in Groningen. And yeah, you know, we have a new sample. Can you analyze that sample as well? So I was like, oh, damn it. Okay, so I just put it in a sandbox, and I gave them the output of the sandbox so they could see to where it was connecting. And that was a server located in Germany. Now, how do you seize a server located in Germany? Well, there are these 24/7 requests, and difficult. Or you can just go to the server and see what happened, which they did. And it was a redirect to a server in Holland. You know, so the police, they got into their standard cars for these procedures, and within 6 hours of giving them the PCAP, they gave me a list with all the keys and initialization factors so that we could add them to our database. Fine, till so far. But we still had to make the decryption tool, and if some of you ever did some reverse engineering or some programming, and especially with cryptography, you know that it is not always difficult, not always easy to get it right the first time. Luckily for us, however, these guys wrote their malware in .NET. So you just hit the decompile button, and this is what you get. This is their decryption routine. This helps a lot. But to make it even easier, this is theirs. And this was ours. So we just copy-pasted their code, we saved some time, and everything was ready to go live on Tuesday. But then it was Monday. Monday, April the 10th, and it was the day of the NCC1 conference. It's the biggest security conference in the Netherlands. And what happened? Well, this guy was there. This is Lodewijk van Swieten. He is a Dutch prosecutor for cybercrime. And usually he's a good guy, but don't give him Twitter, because he started tweeting about the website on Monday before it was publicly announced. Bad guy. And to make matters even worse, the police saw this tweet and they were like, oh yeah, well, you know, the news is out in the open already, so let's publish our press release. And we didn't have anything ready yet, you know, the website was not really functioning really well, so you can imagine the reaction at our headquarters. Total chaos, but nevertheless, within 2 hours, everything was ready. And a little bit later, the thank you notes started pouring in. This is one of my old colleagues for another company I used to work for. He was happy, he got his files back. This was from the woman from Groningen. She sent the police a pie, and everything was going fine. You know, we didn't spend too much effort on it, well, except for my weekend. But then, somebody started tweeting again. Like, oh, damn. And this is Bart Parijs. He used to work for Panda Security back then. And he said, yeah, there are some more hashes you should look into. You know, so we did. And then it turned out that there was much more to Coinvault than we initially thought. Oh, damn, back, yeah. So, what did we do? So there was, like I said, there was much more than we initially thought. So we started to make this whole blog post with a timeline. I started to look for all the samples. I made a timeline and with the evolution of Coinvault and all the other malware that came with it. And when I was about 95% finished, I put everything into a big zip file and I went to the police and I asked them, hey guys, are you still working on it? Well, maybe you will find this information interesting. And they replied, what the hell is this? And if somebody asks you that, there's only one answer possible.
The stuff that dreams are made of. Huh?
Yeah, that was also their reaction, like, huh? Well, in the end, they found it, and it was really interesting for them. But I also continued my investigation, just to make my blog post, to finish it. And when I was about to finish, one of the things I always do is to look for the PDB string in the binary. Sometimes it gives interesting information. And this time, it did. But more about that later, because what we did first, you know, we had to analyze the malware itself. So what will you get if you analyze the malware? Well, first stage, you get a very, did I say very? Well, you get quite a long byte array with a decryption routine at the bottom. If you decrypt the byte array, you get to the second stage. There was a program called Shield Runner. And Shield Runner was basically analyzing the computer. So here it looks for some strings, like for Wireshark or Windows Pro. And there was a similar routine to check for Process Explorer. So that's why changing the name of Process Explorer to banana.exe circumvented one of these type of checks. And then you get to the third layer. And this was the actual ransomware. Let's zoom in a little bit. Now, I don't think there are any Dutch people in the room aside from me, but this is flawless Dutch. It would be the same, I guess, as finding flawless Hungarian inside the binary. You would be like, what the hell? Well, that was our reaction as well, because writing flawless Dutch is not so easy. So we thought, maybe some Dutch people are involved. And that turned out to be true, because like I said, I was always looking for the PDB string, and guess what I found? Two names. Here you can see my name, and there you can see Eugene's Kaspersky name. But what we actually did find, there were not those two names, of course. I didn't find my own name. But I did find the first and last name of one of the suspects in the binary, and the other guy's first name. I thought, no, nobody is that stupid. So I called up the police, and I told them, look what I found. You know, I'm not sure if it's true, but it can be a lead worth investigating. And they said, yeah, you know, we also did some work, because remember the server that we seized? There were some traces on it. They logged in 18 times, and 17 times over to our exit node, and 1 time from an ADSL IP address. That was located somewhere in Amersfoort, there. Oh, and guess who lives there? Those 2 guys. Well, that was easy, you know, the suspects were identified. But from that point in time, till the guys were arrested, was like a half year. And it took the police so long because they really needed to make a big and strong case, so the guys couldn't escape their punishment. And when it was finally there, the guys were arrested, the police went to them. This is their home. You see they were real hackers, nerds, whatever you want to call them, but lots of laptops, lots of computers. They even had their own gym. I think under the bed or somewhere there was one of the command and control servers located. And if anybody knows what this machine is, please let me know at the end of the talk. And then it was, of course, time for the interrogation, the fun part. And first, they didn't want to confess anything, but after 3 days, their lawyers got access to the case file the police built, and the lawyers were looking through it like, it's better to confess because denying everything won't help. So they made a full confession. They also gave the police access to the email account they had, their help desk, and they saw all these devastating messages. But the fun thing is, they also gave the police access to the command and control server. And then the police did this. They changed the status of everybody who was infected with Coinvault at that point in time to paid. So what happened, if you were infected, suddenly your computer would start to work, all your files would be decrypted again, and the malware would be removed from your computer. Nice job by the police. Oh, actually 2 times, because there were 2 brothers. Oh yeah, and remember the minions? They were also happy because we made this decryption tool, because we found all the keys that belonged to Coinvault. So we could help anybody who was once infected with Coinvault. And like I said, happy minions. Ah, damn it, never mind. Okay, anyway, what you see here, this is a picture from the court case. Oh, not a picture, actually a drawing. That is brother 1, that is brother 2. His name was in the binary and the other guy's first name. So this was during the court case. They said they were sorry, they turned around, they cried. And they were like, oh yeah, we're so sorry. But in the end, it took 3 years before they appeared in court. So the judge said, like, okay guys, this took too long. So, because you only affected 1,200 people, I have no idea where that 1,200 comes from, because we had about 14,000 keys. Because you only affected 1,200 people, and you come from a good family, you have a bright future ahead, and you already spent some time in jail, like 2 days or something, this will be your punishment. 210 hours of community service for infecting 14,000 people. They didn't appeal, the prosecutor didn't appeal, so this is the final verdict. So what did we learn from this in the end? I'm not going to say cybercrime pays off, because they had to give all the money they had, which was apparently 20,000 euros. But the fun thing was, they never really wanted to say how much money they made, so I still have some vague idea that they might have some money left somewhere. But anyway, what we really learned from this, that is everybody does their job, and if everybody works together, sometimes solving cybercrime cases can be relatively easy. I mean, Björn went to investigate, the owner of the hacked server went to the police came to us, we investigate, and in the end, the criminals were arrested. Now, one of the questions that I always get is, what can you do against this? Well, I just already told you guys, like, just be sure to make your backup, update your software always, don't click on any suspicious emails. And if you have an antivirus installed, just pick one that also looks at the behavior of things, that doesn't solely rely on signatures. Because many times, those components can catch unknown ransomware variants, so your computer will stay clean. Now, that was it. I have 15 seconds left, but that's for the next one. So if there are any questions, We are up in a booth somewhere on the 4th floor. Just come there, I will be there, and I will answer your questions. And that's it.